Hey everyone, welcome back to IG Live with Harman Pro India, TGIF. I'm sure most of us are thinking. Today we're going to be chatting with Charu Hariharan. She's a percussionist, a singer, composer, and basically many roles rolled into one, if I may say so. And she's well known at the national as well as international levels. She's collaborated with many musicians, countless Indian and international artists. Without further ado, let's just add her to the chat.
Hi.
Hello. Finally, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. How are you?
All well, can't complain.
Okay. Nice to be seeing you, at least remotely. It's been a
Yep.
very long time since I met you. Yeah,
Oh, yes, absolutely. A long time. I think it's been over 2 years now.
easily over 2 years. It was 2019, if I do remember right.
Yeah, at the
No,
live arena.
2020. No, 2020 when I traveled with Carola. No, we didn't meet that time. You did. You
We
came
didn't.
over for the
No.
concert.
The last time we met was was that at Finch?
Yeah, it was at Finch when you came to
Oh,
listen
right.
to our concert. Yeah.
That was 2020, is it?
That was 2020, January 2020, end of January or beginning of February or something like that.
Okay, 2020 BC, before.
Exactly.
So I was trying to give everyone a brief introduction of yourself, but I think you can do the honors. Maybe for those who came in late, or for those who aren't too familiar with your work, it would be great if you could, give them a glimpse into your journey so far as a musician, as a
Uh,
percussionist, composer.
okay. Yeah. I started learning vocals from my grandfather first. I come from a musical lineage. I belong to Kerala, Trivandrum, and my grandfather was my first guru. I learned vocal from him when I was very young, and then I started learning vocal from my mother, Carnatic classical vocal. Her name is Dr. B. Arundhati. She's my
Right.
first guru, like a very formal guru. She was my first guru. She's still my teacher. At times when I feel like learning, I taunt her. That's more what happens recently. And I started learning mridangam at the age of 11 from my guru Manarkoil Balaji sir. I used to reside in Chennai at that time. From my
Okay.
6 years to my 14 years, I stayed in Chennai. So I started learning when I was 11, and I learned for 3 to 4 years personally with him because I was here. But then when I shifted to Kerala, he was sure that I should continue with him because I wasn't molded enough by the guru and by that particular style of mridangam. So he
Okay.
said, "Come over. We'll do it online or over phone." It was only over phone. Nothing was happening like webcam or that kind of a learning was never there at that point of time.
Right.
So it was more
Right.
over phone calls or sometimes over mobile phones when it came later. So otherwise, I would visit during summer vacations or holidays in between Navaratri, December concert seasons. I used to come, stay with him,
Right.
go with him on his two-wheeler for concerts, and that's how I started getting exposed to the sort of music. And from around when I was 15 or 16, I started traveling abroad. First was
Right.
with my mother performing Kanjira for a concert because she had an established mridangist, and they asked me to come over, and I didn't want to just go like that. So I told her I'll sit and play Kanjira, learn Kanjira, so that I can accompany her and not feel useless by my presence. So that's how I learned Kanjira at that point. And
So you didn't have any plan to learn it, and it just happened because of this circumstance, if for lack of a better term.
yeah, I mean, I've listened to Kanjira. The sound was very nice, but I mean, she just asked me to just come over. It's okay, you can probably listen to
Right.
the concert, put talam behind me, or things like that.
Right.
And I said, like, I don't want to be useless. I'll sit and learn Kanjira. During my 11th, I tried to learn a bit of drums. I wasn't very good at it. I didn't have enough time to pursue drums at that point, and I didn't know what I would take as a career forward. So I wanted to take engineering or medicine. I was thinking about all that, useless things at that point because I wasn't very sure of what I'll be led to. And by the
Yeah.
time I was in 12th, I was very sure that I'm not going to any of these. And somehow, I think it was 10th standard vacations. I had a long time. I didn't have to bother about any of this sort. And I, aram se I, took up Kanjira and listened to Harishankar ji, that combination, Laya Chitra, Karekudi Mani sir, and slowly started picking up, got a little help from Nanjil Arul sir, and then went travel with her. I wasn't playing well and all that, but it was nice that I didn't feel useless at least at that point of time. And then I participated in a singing reality show. I was more focused on singing at that point, even though I enjoyed percussion a lot. But then I had to quit the competition and go on a tour where I was a mridangist at that point. Even though I was a little disappointed about it because the singing reality show was going pretty well. But then I met Pandit Debashish Bhattacharya when I went to La Réunion, Mauritius, on a tour. And from then, I think my life changed because he took me on board and he trained me personally a lot, introducing me to Hindustani music, making me understand the nuances of it. So we had a quartet, a pure classical quartet of Hindustani and Carnatic music. We traveled, we recorded an album together. That's when I felt like, okay, so this is going good. And then I went to Sweden for a music camp called Ethno. And there I got introduced to a lot of other genres, music and things like that. My international band collaboration started off from then, called Vadans Band. And then every year I start traveling. I try to meet a lot of musicians. Slowly went, grew from there and became more like a percussionist rather than just a mridangam artist. And meanwhile, I assisted Sri M. Jayachandran sir. He's a national award winning composer from Kerala for 1.5 years as a music composer. I've composed music for a movie, a few jingles, documentaries. I've arranged programmed works. So yeah, what all I feel like juggling with, I don't hesitate from doing that. I'm more passion driven rather than planning and all that doesn't, I don't know how much it works with me, but I'm very driven by passion and whatever I feel interested about, I just jumped into. So yeah.
So right from the get go, I think you've had the good fortune of being multifaceted right from the start, right? So you started with singing, and then there was percussion, and then within percussion you kind of tried to diversify into other instruments, and then you started composing. I think it was a very natural process, right? I didn't sound like you had it all planned.
No, not at all. In fact, my parents tried to curb it and say, like, what are you? You're like a jack of all trades. You will be a master of none. This was what I used to hear because my father was like that. And he ended up with a bank job. I mean, that's because of his financial constraints at that point from his family. So he couldn't do anything else. So they were very concerned that I'm throwing myself at so many different directions, and they were worried at a point. I was also into sports. When I was in 11th and 12th, I used to go for state level athletics like javelin, shot put, or discus throw, things like that. So I used to train for that. Wow. But then I felt, I got into my college on a sports quota also. But I didn't take that up because that will not do good to music. At least at that point, I knew that music is what I want to pursue. So it took a long time for me to narrow down and come into a point. But what it helped me with was I was introduced to a lot of things that I felt fascinated about. I didn't hesitate a moment to pursue, what I want to. When I started programming, I think my parents were a little, worried about, what this is and how things are going to be. Stephen Devasi, he was the one who introduced me to that kind of a world and said, like, you can try doing different things. So I used to sit in the night when they used to sleep so that I don't disturb them and they don't see what I do. And around 2-3 o'clock in the night, I'll go and sleep and wake up and go to school and things like that. So it was a lot of fun, trying to do different things. And after a point, they started understanding that, okay, this is actually adding up to, what I'm supposed to be doing in the future.
True. Yeah. Which software did you start programming on, if I may ask?
You wouldn't believe, Cakewalk Pro, when I was in 6th standard of 5th standard.
Wow. Okay. Do you still stick to that or?
No. I don't know if the software still exists. So from Cakewalk, I shifted to FL Studio, and
I still use FL Studio.
FL Studio is pretty good when it's come to sequencing and things like that.
Amazing right now, because when it came out, it was so restricted that okay, there's this little world and you do whatever you want within that. But I think it's opened up and it's gotten pretty simple when it comes to incorporating something you've recorded, slicing
Mm-hmm.
that up, all of that. It's evolved
Interesting.
like crazy. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. Because when I started off, it was more for sequencing. I used to make a lot of karaoke's using FL Studio
Right.
because we need to use and you don't get karaoke's. You have to pay a lot for karaoke's at that point. So
Oh yeah.
I used to
Yeah.
use that. I used to make karaoke's for my brother. Using vocal editing was a little tough with FL Studio. So after a point, a friend of mine, you would know, Sharat sir, music director, Sharat sir's brother called Ranjit. We are family friends. So when I came to Chennai to study under my guru, he was like, "Why are you using FL? You can slowly move to Cubase." So then he helped
Oh,
me buy a system. That was my first investment, getting a system done, an M audio sound card, and installing Cubase and a few other VSTs. So then I started using them initially. At the point when I felt like no, I have to switch over to Mac, it was a hack initially, and then into a Mac. So now it's only Logic, mostly Logic.
oh, okay, okay. And you've found your space there, and you're comfortable with Logic right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. I wouldn't say I'm such a tech savvy or I dig into every software so keenly. I'm lazy to a point that I would want to use where I want to use it. I don't want to just.
Right.
I don't take efforts. Just the plain reason
Ah,
for that. I know what I want to do with it, and in a way that I am comfortable with, I'll learn it as it goes, and as and when it goes. I'll sit with
right.
tutorials. I'll write it
Oh,
down. If I have to update myself, then I'll sit and work with it. That's how it usually goes by. But I do most of my programming work myself. I don't hand it over unless and until if it has to be, live instruments recorded.
right. And you've this part of the life of being a musician, has it helped you at a personal level more than it has helped you professionally? As in, did it play a vital role when it came to say when you get projects such as arranging background scores for videos or films, or is that how it helped you more than it helped you personally, or was it a mix of both? uh,
See, I don't know if you can separate anything from being personal about it.
True.
In the sense that what comes from within is what inspires you to do what you have to do. Imagine you have a
Correct.
bad day. Unless and until you sort something little inside or be grateful to something little inside, you will not be able to get the art out of you. So
True.
I don't know if you can actually separate it. And if you separate it, what happens is you lose the essence or the spirit of you that goes into a project. So I think for me, I wanted to get scattered and go to different places, and I'm not ashamed about it at all. A lot of people would say like, "Why are you so scattered and going to diverse places?" Initially, I felt like, "Why am I being so judged?" And I was judging myself over the ways. Sometimes I do still. I think. Because there are so many people who have just dug so deep into one direction and are masters at it. But I met a musician who's kind of a mentor for me in Sweden called Ollie Muller. He was a mentor for our band, and I've played with him also over a few concerts, and we've composed together. It was very interesting working with him. And when I shared this to him about this confusion, because he plays literally 23 instruments, even though one of it is his favorite, he plays 23 instruments and an amazing
Wow.
composer and a free spirit. And I spoke to him, and he said like, see, you can have different instrumentalists, but if you need you, they will only call you. You know, you will
Right.
be a
Right.
package rather than a person who can be replaced over a project. In some ways, I feel that is true, but it takes time for you to reach that point. I'm still not there. I'm traveling towards somewhere, reaching somewhere there. But I really like that kind of a concept where, see, anyone can be replaced any day. No one is permanent or nothing is permanent here. But I just meant that you'll at least create an identity of your own, your sound of your own, because you know different aspects of how it works and, rhythmically or melodically. That's interesting when he shared that perspective.
Great. And so, in all these different instances where you got to collaborate with so many different people across the world, not just India, uh, is there anything that you can kind of right now think about or pinpoint that this particular association or this particular experience really molded or contributed to my journey in a big way? Is there anything that you can pinpoint, something that strikes you right now that you can look back upon?
Uh, one thing, one thing I would not forget. That was when I was traveling with a band called Ethno on the road. So in Ethno, there are like 100, people, and from them they choose like around 6 to 7 participants to go on a on-road concert series to promote this concept in the future. So the next time
Right.
people get to know about it and they apply for the camp. So I started traveling with that, and there were like 6 musicians, really nice musicians, and I was the only percussionist. So I've
Hmm.
never handled cajon, I've never done anything like that before. So all the money I had, I bought a cajon, and my intention was that I have to play well. But by playing well, what I was trying to do is I was overplaying, and I was trying to make my presence so evident that I don't feel less, or the people don't feel less about my music. I was trying to compensate for my own insecurity or inferiority, basically, when I started playing. So I cannot share the example what my friend quoted, but he
Sure, sure.
came and told me personally that you can't do too many things at the same time. So if you try to push it, it's not going to help you at all. So just keep it as simple as possible and see how it is going to change the way people perceive music. And that one thing changed a lot of things in me. And he was so polite and he was so humble and so personal when he came and told that to me. It was a very intimate lesson in my head. But every time I think, because every time you think there are chances that you will overplay. And it is very difficult to subtract. The process of subtraction is the hardest to actually look at it. And you have to
True,
be
true.
uh, detached from yourself. Sometimes, ego comes up and all that is there. But if you still have that one moment of awareness, where am I? What am I doing? Am I intruding the space? Am I destroying the music? Then you step back. Better to do less than to do more, because then it attacks everyone, and it destroys the serenity that we are trying to create through music. So that was one
Yeah,
beautiful lesson I
yeah.
learned.
That makes a lot of sense because if you're part of something bigger, then it makes sense to contribute to it rather than overshadow it. Or yeah, makes perfect sense. And that's a lesson that most musicians learn the hard way, right? I mean, even I was part of many bands, and uh, I used to play the drums, and I remember trying to put in a lot of fills where fills are not required, and then that, like you said, right? I mean, there were people who said that why do you have to keep doing stuff? Just carry the song, and
Yeah,
don't try to be the spotlight, or because yeah, then that contributes to a lot of dynamics of the band also, right? Because it may be
absolutely.
perceived in a way that you wouldn't want it to be perceived.
Yeah.
That's
Because
so
there you
true.
don't listen, but you want others to hear you, which is like completely opposite, right? It's like you're not ready to listen, but you want others to hear you.
Right, right. Yeah, it's about let me
Harish, your
talk.
signal seems to be
I
a
mean,
little weak now. Yeah.
is it better now?
Yeah, resume back again.
Okay, okay, cool. Is it still going in and out, or
No, no, no. It's okay. Your video is a little
okay?
like frozen at certain points, but your audio is clear.
Okay, so it's the opposite for me. I can see myself clearly, and your video seems to be. I don't know where the issue is. Let me just check my Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Oh, it seems to be fine. Seems to be fine.
Okay. Uh, I'm
Uh,
also on the best
yeah,
best
it
Wi-Fi
seems
as
okay
of now.
now.
Okay.
Nothing's happening. So let's let's go
Okay. Let's go on.
on. Uh, so and apart from that, of course, when was it that you realize that okay, things have started opening up for you as a musician? It's and it's not just one thing that you're focusing on, and suddenly you're part of so many things. And did that? I'm sure that helped you grow at a faster pace, maybe because because of the sheer exposure of it.
Uh, I don't know when things started picking up. One big acceleration was when I came to Chennai, or when I actually dropped my job and chose myself to not go into that zone anymore. So I was like a guest lecturer in the university. I was masters in psychology and I got a net also. And I was working in the university, that job, went to study music abroad. I was financially completely bankrupt. I thought I have to, juggle a job and do this parallelly. But 1.5 months in a job, I couldn't bear it at all. And I felt like whatever I will do, I'll just drop this and see what I can do in the future. But that brought me a lot of clarity. Traveling outside, taking workshops, collaborating with Carola, so many things. Post that changed my life. So, yeah.
Superb. And I suppose it also kind of hastened the process of you growing as a musician who's working in the space of music, right? That too
Yeah.
professionally, because you're exposed to so many viewpoints, so many situations, and you learn to work with a lot of. Were there any flip sides to that? Anything you can think of?
No,
Uh,
not at all, in fact.
Not
Uh, because I think initially people would have been hesitant to approach. I've had very less concerts compared to any Carnatic musician playing Mridangam. So I've always blamed myself for not being good at it and not being experienced enough so people would call me. But I think it's a matter of building your self confidence over time. So when I think of this
true.
thought in my head, everyone has gone through this way. So if I don't make mistakes or if I'm not ready to make mistakes, I'm not going to grow. But I should also, because this is not a norm here yet, where people are called for, a lot of women artists are not called for, bands or performances unless and until you prove your mettle on a big stage, which is a sad part of it. It takes time. I wouldn't say that it is something to be blamed, but it is something to be aware of by any person as such, or any
Mm, mm.
musician or a group of people. And women ourselves have to feel confident putting out our work, whatever it be, and also being competent at ourselves, not about the world. We are afraid to put out work because we think that it's not going to be good like others. What are others? We have to be at our best and try and put out
Right,
whatever we feel
right,
like. That is
right.
all we should care of. And I see a lot of people with good talent and amazing skill not doing that kind of work and not coming out of their shell, which makes me feel a little sad about it. But I think the only thing I probably would have done is because my family is extremely supportive. My teachers, my gurus, everyone have never treated me to be a girl or a boy. They've never seen me with that pair of eyes at all. So I've felt so free doing what I wanted to do. And I've also been very careful about limiting my spaces. I would work, I would come back, do my job, that's it. Uh, my connection to people, to any life is only about music and nothing more than that. Personally, certain people become very good friends, certain people become good acquaintances, that's another part of it. But the first preference is music, and I would be just showing justice to that, not anything else,
Right.
not via any other way. So,
Right, right. But like now that you mentioned that women musicians sometimes have, more specifically, women percussionists also sometimes have to face a certain kind of I wouldn't call it bias, maybe would probably be the right word. Any bittersweet memories or any bad experiences that you'd want to not really?
not much. Me personally, I think I wouldn't call it a bad experience, but I had not been offered a lot of work. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't want to look back at it and say, like, oh, I didn't get work. I'm very fortunate enough to be where I am currently. I have no qualms or complaints or regrets about where I am and what I am doing at all, because I know, that I am a very diverse artist and might be difficult to, accommodate me to certain kind of projects. It's okay, but I would do what I want to do and what I like to do. Nothing else can prevent me from doing that. That one thing is very firm inside my head. So I don't think there is anything of that sort that affected my growth or performance. Maybe people from outside would know it better than I do it, because sometimes it doesn't even reach me, you know.
Right,
But
right, right.
personally, no, not at all. I'm very, very fortunate and lucky to have that kind of a circle around me.
That's great. That's good to hear. That's good to know. Good to hear. Uh, and let's talk a bit about the albums that you've done. You've done one with Carola. I've heard that.
Yeah.
What else? If you would elaborate a bit for the viewers as well who've joined us today.
Okay. I
What kind of projects you've been a part of uh,
okay.
on those lines? Something on
Uh,
those lines.
Yeah, sure. I've performed a lot of live, like proper Carnatic concerts I've been doing. I've done collaborative kind of work. I'm working with Kriya currently, so that's the latest album that has come out.
Right.
It's a Carnatic fusion kind of an album, very tastefully done. So I'm a percussionist in the album. I play multi percussions, in fact. I've worked with Carola on an album called Spiralla. So we kind of jammed together for a long time, and we were in Sweden together. She came over and stayed with me, and we came up with a few ideas and tunes and rough arrangements. She polished them and made her own compositions over it, and then I helped her with the arrangements and came up with this album called Spirala. I've done arrangements for a couple of songs or more, but she has done the rest of it herself. And I've done one album with Pandit Devashish Bhattacharya. I've played Mridangam in the album. It is called O Shakuntala, and we've traveled with that album in Europe and Middle East and other places. And another album, two albums in fact, I've worked with is Vadans Band, the band that I was talking to you about in Sweden. So
Right.
one is
Right.
called Vadans Band itself, and the other one is called Tadialu. It's a Senegalese. Karish, am I back?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
You're back.
So yeah, so Dadyalo is another album. Then one very fond project of mine is producing the music for my Hindustani Guruji, Abritita Banerjee. So she did an album called Karuna Nidhan, which is a set of compositions by Swati Tirunal, which she composed in Hindustani. So they are Hindi or Awadhi compositions of Swati Tirunal. They are bhajans, and she set it to tune and she composed and sung the entire project. And I it was one of my favorite projects working on it. It took like an year and a half to finish that, but I've produced the music for
Wow.
the entire thing and played the mridangam, recited konakol at certain points. And other than that, I've recorded for music directors in Malayalam, Tamil. I've recorded for Rahman sir. I've recorded for Kiravani sir recently for Triple R. It just got released today,
Oh yes.
coincidentally.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Oh wow.
and I performed with Firdaus Orchestra recently in the Dubai Expo with Rahman sir's group. Uh,
Oh
and
yes. I saw that. Yeah.
yeah, so have been recording and working on different projects. I've written lyrics for a couple of movies in Tamil, some independent albums and songs. I've composed music for a movie called Uri Karithiyan Udaipa. It's in Malayalam. I've composed 3 songs for the movie, and I've done the background score and music for a documentary that was selected for the Panorama in the IFFI, Goa, called Iravilum Pagalilum Odi. So, yeah, to just sum it up, a few works that I've done. And I've sung playback also in Malayalam, and a
Oh
few that
super.
are yet to come in Telugu also.
Oh nice. And so right now, as a musician, what's the mix of the kind of work that you're doing? Is it more of composing, more of being a singer, more of a percussion? What's the mix like?
Mix. Okay, if I take 100%, I would say 60 to 70% percussion. The
Okay.
rest of it, like 20% to 25, my own work, which also includes percussion, of course. So composing work is mostly my independent work. Some of them I'm doing like for dance productions and things like that. Yeah, I've done dance productions also, composed music for dance
Hmm.
productions, proper Carnatic work. And here and there, sometimes I sing. So my own productions, I make it a point that I sing because I wanted to keep it very personal and I don't want to lose that side of mine. That I cherish my voice, I cherish the way I probably convey a particular idea. Not that I'll be the only singer when I, write a song, but sometimes I just feel good doing it myself. So yeah, mostly like that.
Right. So it's like a 60-20-20 kind of a mix, maybe, to sum
Kind
up.
of, and this all falls into a box of production also, because I might do the production for most of it. When I make my music, when I record it, I want to have some kind of a control over it. So if sometimes music directors might just give it to from a distance. I've worked for
Hmm.
a couple of projects from abroad, like from the US, from Sweden or Europe at certain points. So they'll give it to you, and but I have to go completely arrange the work, edit the work, sum it up and then send it back to them as steps, which is much more easier for them to understand what the sound is like and how to treat it. So it comes with an aspect of production too.
Okay. Okay. And when it comes to practice, uh, how do you divide your practice routine? What's your routine like? Uh,
No routine as such. Uh,
no routine. Okay.
no, no routine as such. I make sure when I feel like practicing, I make sure that I sit to do it, and that I don't get distracted or diverted into anything else. But if I feel like not doing it, I will not force myself to do it, because sometimes your mind has to be free to get other ideas, to be into something else that you're not used to. You should not be in a rut doing the same thing again and again.
Right.
So
Right.
I give myself the freedom to do whatever I want to do. So sometimes it might be just listening to new albums or new music. Sometimes it will be just watching some concerts. Sometimes it will be reading a book. Sometimes it will be, but I think all of them add to your practice. I don't think practice is a very
True.
linear thing at all.
Right.
So
Right.
over the
Right.
years, that's also one thing I started learning, because if you want to put yourself into doing a specific thing, you will do it, because you want to do it and you will do it. It's something you're passionate about. You can't restrict yourself from doing that. But the only thing
Correct.
being, sometimes other distractions can pull you off. So keep the distractions away, like internet maybe or mobile or other things. They do distract for sure. So try to
Oh,
minimize it as
absolutely.
much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Today more than ever,
Yeah.
the main source of those damn notifications. And
we are interacting on one of our addictions, in fact. I mean, at least.
yeah, scroll, 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 scroll.
Yeah, true.
What's the one instrument that you keep going back to? Is there an instrument of choice? Is it
Mridangam.
the okay,
Any
without a
day,
doubt.
any day, no doubt at all. If I have it just before me, I can prostrate before it. That's the kind of love and adoration I have for that instrument. It never ceases to, surprise and give something new every time. I don't
Oh
know. It's
yes,
limitless. It's limitless.
yes.
And what people have done with it, what people are capable of doing with it, it is completely open to any kind of an exploration. I don't know. If I have to just feel settled within, that's the only way. Either meditation or Vedanta. For me, that's God. I can't say it any other way.
Have you? So would you agree if people say that the Pakhavaj is like the North Indian counterpart of the Mridangam?
I wouldn't.
Tonally,
Maybe it's like,
tonally, yeah,
yeah, it's
tonally it's
probably
very
like a
different.
father. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Probably it's like a father or a brother to the Mridangam, like an elder brother to the Mridangam. In a lot of ways,
yeah,
I've heard that is where, for example, the bhajan, the sampradaya comes from there and has come down to the south. A lot of evidences suggest that it has come down to the south of India, and the modification has happened to fit into the music. The goonj or the resonance is so much in Pakawaj. The way you play, the way the layer of skins are very similar to tabla, much more than the mridangam. The layers of skin are very different in terms of mridangam. They have three layers. They are very much tighter. The resonance is not as long because of
right.
the way it is built. Especially the left, you play with a lot of ata to the left, and the goonj is
Mm,
like a very long resonant sound, and you can't play the gumaki or the one that you play on the tabla with, right? That
right,
kind of a gamak kind of
right,
a
right,
style.
right.
It cannot be played on bakawaj. So the kind of playing is very different. But I would say it is very inspired. Mridangam is inspired from bakawaj for sure. I think dolak and bakawaj. A lot of things are there, especially the way you play the gumaki, the way you emote certain nadays that you play for bhajans and things like that. They are always from the bakawaj bani or from the a little of tabla influenced also. I mean, that is the parent route, right? It has traveled
True,
up and it has
true.
traveled down. That's all. So yeah, it
Right.
is. It is.
And yeah,
It is very painful.
so true, because even the dholak, that used to be one instrument that I'm a little ashamed to admit that I would when I was younger I would take for granted, because that's all you would hear in Bollywood songs, right? Especially in all the slightly folkish kind of approaches when were applied to songs. That's pretty much the only instrument you that would stand out, the
Yeah,
that would drive the song. And then off late, I've been seeing the players, the artists in the studio, and it is mesmerizing the way they get into that space and then they lock onto that. It's like drummers would say they're in the pocket, right? And it's even more impressive when they're sitting in groups of 4 or 6, and the old the vintage style of recording when they're all in one room and you
yeah.
have multiple mics, and that's at a different level. So have you tried any other uh, percussion instrument that you found really interesting, and something new, something different, something like the
Uh,
hung drum, or maybe the frame drum, something like that? Or
Uh, I've I've tried bendir once. I really like bendir and tough, the kind of that instrument. I've tried buying one, but I don't know. I couldn't find a good one in India, basically, and I didn't have enough time to shop from Dubai. So I'm saving up to buying a duff or a bendir. Now you can get it shipped from different places, and it's easily available to buy. So I really, really like that instrument. The way it can produce tones. I love tumbek as it is played with the finer finger movements. I really like the buka. I have one. I've
oh
been playing.
yes, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I've been playing a bit, but not very traditionally. I took a couple of classes just to know the basics of it, but I should be sitting with it to finesse it. And one other
mm.
instrument I absolutely love is the pandero quadrado, which was introduced to me by a band called Coetus. Uh, so Coetus is a band from Spain. They play a lot of Iberian, Portuguese, Catalan sort of a music, very rooted, grounded
Mm-hmm.
music. And these
Mm-hmm.
instruments were played by women, made by women, in fact.
Oh,
But
okay,
it started losing its tradition because folk music does. When rock and other genres, which mint a lot of money and speak about a lot of other things, start coming up, this is suppressed because of the market and push and everything else. But this
right.
band has revived a lot of instruments and originality and such compositions. And I happen to watch them live. And even before that, when you discover artists, I happen to watch them. And I was so fascinated. The moment I met Carola, this is the instrument and the drummer I spoke to her about. And she said he's her personal, like a drummer for the band. And I was so
Oh
surprised. I
wow.
was like, whatever happens, I need this drum for me. So the first thing I did when I went to Spain was buy the drum. Literally, I got down from the airport, visited their concert, and had the drum with me. And then we started jamming and performing together and all that. It's amazing. It's a beautiful percussion instrument.
But is it how? I'm sorry, I haven't seen that before. Is it a small?
It's not small. It's almost 45 centimeter to 45 centimeter. You get in smaller
Oh,
sizes
it's
as well.
square. Okay, okay, okay.
45 inches, not even centimeter. It's, I think, 30 inches, 32 inches. It's very
Right.
big. You keep it on the lap and you hit it with the stick. And you also
Oh,
play, yeah, you also play with the left hand where you hold the drum. The
and
drum
you
rests on a
control the
balance.
tone, right?
You don't control the tone. This is
Okay,
this is more like a hit. So it's a subtler
acha.
hit on the left.
Okay,
I'll
got it.
post a video and I'll share it to you, so you'll get to see the instrument.
Yeah,
Uh,
that would be great.
I it is just in front of me. Do you mind if I pick it up, or is it
Oh,
is it
not at
too
all.
late to show
Please,
it?
please go ahead. No, 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 no.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. It's just that I have to carry this with me, and one second. So I'm taking a smaller version of the instrument just so that I can demonstrate it. I have two of them. One that I recently got from Carola, and the other one
Oh,
is what I bought before that. So this is the instrument. So it's a
oh,
square
wow,
box basically, and there are
wow.
two places to hold it. So you can hold it like this on your lap. I'll just keep the camera so you can look at it from a distance. Uh, Sorry
Sure.
for my. So you have to rest it
Yeah.
on your lap like this. So it doesn't stay
Okay.
like this on the lap, but you have to balance it. You have to balance it.
Right.
Your left
Right.
hand goes like this and you play like this on the left. And then you
Okay.
play whatever the music is. So So
Wow.
the
Wow.
circular
Okay.
thing comes from the back, and the others are made with the hand.
Okay. From what I can hear, even though it's through the phone audio,
Yeah,
it sounds like the front is more like the kick than the back, in terms of the frequency.
yeah, because the hit with the stick comes in the
Right.
front, the hand goes
Right.
behind. So
Right.
the attack comes from the front only. It sounds more like a mini typo if you listen to it
Ah.
in a proper recording.
Mm, mm.
It's very nice and very interesting kind of a sound. It sounds amazing as an ensemble. Even as a single instrument, it's okay. But I think the best way it has to sound is when it's like in a group of 5 or 6 or more.
Yeah, I mean, I can almost imagine a flamenco piece playing over this, and yeah, it blends in so well. But is it when you record it also in a studio scenario? Is it still was what I said right? The back is a little mid heavy, and the front is lower than the back in
Yeah,
terms of
you
frequency. Yeah,
exactly. So if you have the pandero like this, and I'm just keeping it
right,
like this is where
right.
you mic the front, so you get the kick, and
Ah,
the top or the stick portion plus the hand portion when you play like this is mic from the top, so you get the stick and the hand positions from a vertical point, and this is
oh, okay.
just kept as straight so that you can get the bass, not not
And
like directly
okay,
on the front, a little
right.
tilted so that you don't get the boom of it on straight to the microphone.
Right, and I assume it's leather, right? I mean, the heads
It
are
is. It
okay.
is cowhide, if I am
Okay,
not mistaken.
right, and it doesn't have any tuning of any sort. It's
It does.
it's just
It's very
okay.
interesting. It does have tunings. If you can see, there are holes in the instruments here. Can you
Right,
see?
right,
So there
right.
are
I get,
holes
yeah, I
like
get.
that. Like, yeah, there are 2 holes in every side. So there are 8 holes in total. You have a key, so you can tighten it and loosen it to increase and decrease the pitch. Intelligent
Wow.
making. Yeah.
So the holes provide access to some sort of tuning mechanism with. So what do you use? An Allen key kind of device to.
Yeah, kind of a key, but they have made their own key. It's kind of like a screwdriver key, but
Right.
you cannot use it from the normal screwdriver set of
Ah.
heads. It will not work. So you have to get a key for this specifically, and I got it from Carola this time, and she bought a key from her, and it it can tune the instrument. And I think what it does is the kind of frame that it elongates or you know pushes or push. I don't know what exactly it does. I have to check with it. I think it separates the head, vertically
Hmm.
in a way that
Hmm.
if you expand this, the pitch goes higher, and if you reduce it, the pitch goes lower.
Oh, because I was imagining that when you tighten it, it probably pulls it tauter, and then it keeps stretching it on the sides, and then thereby making it tighter or looser.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I've not understood its or actually questioned its mechanism yet. Should check with the maker. In fact,
Oh, that's super cool. So what's it called again?
pandero and quadrado, like a quadrilateral,
Yeah,
quadrangle,
yeah, got it. Yeah,
quadrado.
right. And I'm sure you've already considered using this in something that you'll come up with very soon. Some
I have, in
compositions.
fact.
Yeah.
I can't
Oh,
wait
you
for
have.
certain things to release. Yeah, I've played it for a couple of works, and it sounds nice. It sounds nice. You just need to know how to mic it. That's a very interesting thing about using percussions because every instrument has its own kind of a tone.
Oh,
As a
yeah.
singer, you probably would know that this is the mic that suits you the best, unless and until your voice changes like drastically. But for percussion, you really need to know mic, how to mic for which one, and it's always a quest trying to see what works the best and what doesn't and all that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've seen people mic a guitar cabinet, which is probably one of the most what do you call it? For lack of a better term, a volatile kind of a sound output that you can get right from mellow to if you switch on the distortion, it's through the roof. I've seen my people miking it with condenser microphones. and the idea itself was like, what, are you kidding me? Are you serious? Are you, and that too in a live scenario.
Oh God. No, no.
And it doesn't sound like a good idea, but it sounded great. I guess it all boils down to how much you know how to use it, right? Um, how much you control the output, or how you want the sound to be reproduced. And I've
Absolutely.
seen people miking the same example, miking guitar cabinets with kick mic. Like
Pick mic.
there's the kick mics, AKG
Oh,
D12 VR,
okay.
or
But
or
that's an
or the
excellent
D1
mic,
Mark II.
actually.
Oh yes, yes, and it makes sense if you think about it, because it's a dynamic mic at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and with polar patterns, so you can choose from it. And so,
I remember
what?
miking that up. I've told you, I think. I've used that for recording cajon for my movie that I composed for in Malayalam. And I played the cajon for one of the songs. So I went to Sweden and they had an array of microphones. And I happened to choose this one for the kick. And I happened to choose 414, I think it was XL2 or XL1 at that point, to mic the
Right,
snare. Uh,
right.
it sounded like butter. It was amazing.
Yeah, once you have someone who can really mold the sound that is captured, then it's really versatile, right, in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I there was something else that I thought of and I forgot. Uh,
Sorry. Yeah,
I was thinking about you've also you also endorse Gappu, right? The
I
Cajon
do.
brand,
Yeah.
right? And was the Cajon like a recent exploration that you undertook, or has it been a while you've started playing
Oh, it's been a
the
while.
Cajon?
It's been
Right.
it's been a while. Initially, I used to play on one of my good friends and good friend's cajon. He is a manufacturer from Sweden called Walter Schindbaum. That's his name. He makes his own line of instruments. So I bought my first cajon from him in 2010. And it was a cajon with an inbuilt microphone, and so you just have to plug an XLR cable to it, and
Wow.
it sounded amazing. It was so beautiful. It's an amazing instrument. I still have it with me. And the only disadvantage of that is that it is not adding up to the sound of my mridangam. It's smaller
Hmm.
in its size, and the kind of tone doesn't complement my mridangam. So what I usually do now is I keep my mridangam and the cajon, and I compensate the left sometimes with the cajon. So that it sounds like an interesting groove that keeps going. So I switch between mridangam and cajon back and forth, and for that, the tone of Gapu suits the best for me. It's B02 cajon that I use. So Walters, I also have the Alludu that he makes, which is an aluminium udu. I'm sure you would have seen it. Vivek also uses the same a lot of times.
Oh, right,
So
right.
amazing instrument that is also. So I've played that for a few movies and work.
And you do have a fusion kind of a setup, right? When you at the live arena also, I think you had like a very different kind of a setup. The the kinds that you see Trilok Gurtu ji playing, or even Tawfiq ji playing, or even Selva Ganesh, for that matter. What's your setup, or is it always changing, or do you have like a set pattern to it?
Uh, a set pattern that I used to use with Carola was very minimal, but it was very efficient for me. Was Mridangam, and
Hmm.
I have a mic stand extra that I always get on venues, and I dangle all the high percussions on it. So I have bells from Japan that one of my friends had gifted. That's amazing. Adds a lot of texture to it, and I have rattlers and few other shakers kind of thing. Uh, like cow hooves, goat hooves, and things like that. They are rattlers and they work really well. I have the chalanga, or what do you say, the gungru that I tie to it,
Right.
and I have a few other things that I dangle on the mic stand. That's my highs, go-to highs, and I
Right.
sometimes use a whistle uh, to emulate what I play on the mridangam or on the cajon. So it is like it has a high element to it, and the low elements are from the
Hmm.
cajon. I do that.
Hmm.
I have panderos, I have ganjira, I have mridangam and a cajon that I use, and I have a shake plate on my foot, that goes like a hi hat when I perform.
Ah, okay,
So
okay.
yeah, and sometimes I
You
use a
have
kick pedal to
cymbals,
the cajon.
right? You use cymbals as well, huh? I think of
Yeah, I do.
uh, splashes or
Splash, mostly splash.
yeah.
I have two symbols basically. So most of them are like splashes on different tones. I want to take up a ride. So I'm probably looking at getting a ride soon. Pretty interesting to have a ride on your set.
Yeah, and even those stacks, the China. There's once you start getting into symbols, I mean, there are
Oh,
just
no, no,
so
no. Don't even
many.
tell me. I love it. I love it. Follow Sabian a lot because
Yeah.
one of my friends, Panos Vasilopoulos, have worked with Flight of Joy. Oh, I haven't shared about that track also. So Flight of Joy is also one important collaboration that happened during the pandemic, and it was
Oh
a very
wow.
special work for me. So through Spanos, I started knowing a lot about Sabian symbols and the kind of stacks that he uses, and discovering a lot about that
I
also.
think I saw his name a while ago. He had
Oh,
joined.
you did?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay.
he
Sorry,
didn't
sorry.
say
I
anything
didn't
though.
even see that.
Yeah, I saw his name and I was wondering. I was gonna say that when you got up to pick up the drum,
Uh-huh.
that's when I saw his name and I was like, okay, people from Greece are also here.
Okay, okay. I didn't see. Probably if he's here, then it's a hi from me.
Great. I think so that kind of brings us to the end of this, and I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today, Charu. And
Thank you
it's been
so much,
wonderful.
Harish.
It's been great, and let's do this again sometime soon. And thank you everyone for joining us, and hope you all enjoyed the conversation. Uh, Thanks, Charu. Take care. Hope
Thank you.
to see
Thank you
you
so
soon.
much, Harish.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thanks for the 5 and 9s again.
You're welcome. My pleasure. See you.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining. Bye.